Welcome to our two-part video series on environmental actions in the Middle East and North Africa region. Today, on behalf of Genervision House, I'm honored to invite my friend Mohammad Asfour, who is the head of the MENA and Africa regional networks in the World Green Building Council, to share his experiences working on green buildings. Mohammad is also an explorer, disruptor, and a green global citizen who is passionate about nature and photography. So today I would like to ask you, how green is the MENA region and what are some of the concerns in the region?
So the MENA region already suffers from a lot of environmental challenges, especially in terms of the scarcity of water, and is now challenged by a lot of the consequences of climate change. So a lot of the cities within the MENA region are already very hot in terms of temperature. Add an increase of 2 degrees and it become very difficult for a lot of cities here to sustain life. Add to that the possibility of rising sea levels, and taking into account that a lot of MENA cities are by the sea, then you will realize how difficult the situation will be in the coming years for many cities within the MENA region.
Thank you. And what does the Green Building Council do to address these concerns, and which sustainable development goals does your work focus on?
Within the World GBC, we've developed our strategy based on the SDGs. We found that SDGs 17, 13, 9, 7, 3, 6, 11, 10, 8, and 12, and 15 all are directly linked to the built environment. And as you know, buildings cause around 39% of emissions causing climate change. 11% of those are in the form of embodied carbon in buildings. So we looked at these SDGs I mentioned, and we developed a strategy with 3 pillars. One pillar focuses on climate action, the other on health and well-being, and the third is on resources and circularity. In terms of climate action, we launched our global project, which is focused on advancing net zero buildings. And as part of that, we launched our net zero commitment, through which companies, states, cities all commit to have all their new buildings as net zero buildings by 2030, and all buildings existing and new as net zero buildings by 2050. So SDGs are linked to all the work we do and are very much related to our work, not only in the Middle East and Africa, but also globally.
Thank you. May I know what is some of the flagship projects that you have done in the MENA region to achieve net zero emissions?
Okay, so the MENA region is part of 5 World GBC regions around the world. And globally, we focus on advancing net zero, on health and well-being, and other aspects. So on a MENA level, we looked into the challenges that we face, and we found that reconstruction is a big concern. So we partnered with UN Habitat and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development to develop guidelines that take into account advancing net zero, health and well-being, and many other issues that need to be taken into account when reconstructing a lot of the cities in the region. Now there are 6 pillars, and these aspects fall within those 6 pillars or thematic areas upon which these guidelines are based. Last year, I saw that there was a building in Dubai that was not only net zero, but was net positive, which tells us that this is something doable, a business case behind going green and going net zero, and possibly and potentially going net positive.
As Macau is also aiming towards responsible consumption and green urban planning, what are some of the experiences or tips that you think would be applicable in the Asia Pacific all the world?
Excellent question. Now, Macau, like many coastal cities in the world, will be impacted to a great extent by the changing climate. So it is very important to take into account the issue of rising sea levels. And I know of an example in Abu Dhabi where they've incorporated this into some of their guidelines and codes so that if seas rise, and this is something that would possibly happen, that they will be better prepared. So this is one of the areas that is extremely important. Now, the other important point is how do you incorporate issues of green urban planning, taking resilience into account in city planning. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we really need to plan for, because weather patterns, climate change, etc., will be changing the way a lot of these natural phenomena will be occurring. So we really need to be prepared for that. One of the very important topics here is nature-based solutions. How could you, as cities, start planting more trees, for example, native species that would reduce the heat island effect and thus reduce the need for air conditioning in areas that suffer from high temperatures. How could we use plants again to capture water when we expect, for example, higher amounts of precipitation per rainfall? So a lot of these issues that really need to take place when we plan for the future is very different to what we had planned for in the past, and all of this needs to be taken into account.
In light of the recent UN Climate Ambition Summit in December 2020, what do you think are the ways forward for the world and for the Middle East and North Africa region?
I think the most important thing is for people to start collaborating and working together, because the environment knows no borders. If something happens here, China is affected. If something happens in China, we are affected because we share the same atmosphere, we share the same planet. So the first most important point is that for all countries to get together and start working on ways to mitigate and solve this problem. From our perspective, what we've done is we've created these networks of green building councils that get together and try to work on incorporating these green principles within their countries. On a global level, we have also partnered with a few international organizations, such as the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, the World Resource Institute, C40, and others, in order to build on all what has been agreed to and dedicate a day for green building or for buildings during the next COP that will be held in Glasgow in the United Kingdom.
Thank you. How would you apply these measures of sustainability into your daily life?
Excellent question. Now, post-COVID, I think myself and many other people started thinking more seriously of what we could do to live more sustainable ways of living. And one of the things I do, for example, is I now compost all whatever I can compost on a household level. I use this compost in planting my own vegetables. I try to be more aware about a lot of the activities that I do, trying to reduce the impact I have on the environment. So now, whenever I could hold a meeting on an online platform, I prefer to do that than to drive my car, cause emissions, and damage to the planet. So I think we could always come up with rating tools, with guidelines, with so many things that we believe will help us improve the way we build, the way we live. But unless we develop our own habits that are green and that would serve our planet well, then not much can be achieved.
Thank you, Mohammad, today for joining the discussion about environmental actions in the Middle East and North Africa region. And if you want to learn more about Mohammad's work, please visit the World Green Building Council's website. And if you want to hear more interesting stories, we will also be sharing it on Genervision House Facebook page. Thank you.